Okay, hello economics students. We are doing a video on answering questions relating to discretionary policies or discretionary policy. Here's the question. Explain how one example of a discretionary stabiliser. Remember, our discretionary stabilisers are the ones that our politicians come out and announce. They're making a change to the composition of the budget. And we need to think about how one of these has impacted the achievement of full employment over the past 2 years. So you do need to know contemporary discretionary policies or discretionary stabilisers. They're exactly the same thing. Of course, we've already done this. You know these by now. Pause, think about where the marks are in this question. Okay, so of course we need to start out by saying, well, here is one example of a discretionary stabiliser. You can use the infrastructure spending, the LMITO, the instant asset write-off, even the fuel tax if you wanted to. And you need to give as much detail about that policy as you possibly can. So dollar amounts, dates, percentages, basically how the policy works as much as you can get. Then we're going to do something that we've done a lot of in economics. Remember, the budget for now is an aggregate demand tool. So we're going to link the policy to aggregate demand. How do we do that? Well, if we can, we're going to talk about an aggregate demand factor, or we're just going to link it directly to the components, C plus I plus G plus X minus M, but we won't necessarily link it to those, how they're going to affect those components, or how the policy is going to affect those components. It's very repetitive. We've done it heaps before. Then we outlined the link between aggregate demand and production and jobs. And this is here is where we think about a circular flow model. Students often forget to do this. They just say, well, AD increases, which means we achieve our goal of full employment. But how? Let's make as many links as we possibly can here. Here you could talk about prices. This question is not about price stability, but if it was, you'd be talking about how an increase in AD pushes us towards the productive capacity, and that creates shortages and price pressures and so on. So this third mark here is a little bit goal dependent. For us, we're just going to link AD to production to jobs. Then finally, we're bringing it all back together and saying, hey, guess what? This policy helps us achieve the goal or doesn't, and we want to demonstrate an understanding of the goal. All right, so here is an example of a answer that's not very impressive, but it's correct. One example of a contemporary policy is the increase in infrastructure spending. This will increase government spending, that should say, and increase AD, and this helps us to achieve the goal of full employment. All of this is true and correct, but it's not worth 4 marks. So pause now and think about how you personally would add to this question. How would you get some meat on these bones to really make this answer stand out? Okay, I hope you did pause. Now I'm going to show you what I would do. So, what can we tell the examiner about infrastructure spending? Well, there's a pipeline of $120 billion worth of road and rail projects. You could even get one in there. You could even talk about the Bruce Highway or the Melbourne to Brisbane Inland Rail project or the Metro Tunnel if you really want to stand out. But they've committed to $120 billion worth of projects over the next 10 years. So I've got some time periods and some dollar figures. I'm going to be cool there with it getting a mark. What kind of government spending does this increase, though? Well, it's capital spending. It's G2 spending. Now, you could probably get away with just saying this will increase capital spending, which is G2. But I never really know how to extend this. So I've just said that these projects will provide future benefits to the economy. Remember, as I said before, we're just thinking about the AD impacts now. But infrastructure policies are going to provide long-term supply-side benefits as well. That's why they're capital spending. And we'd also say that this is also a short-term injection, like I just said. So this increases AD, and as the AD curve shifts to the right, this is the part that students always forget. There's more spending in the economy. Now we're going to think about our circular flow model. How does economic activity work? More spending leads to more production. So businesses are going to notice, particularly infrastructure businesses, building businesses, engineering businesses, hey, there's more spending in the economy, but lots of other businesses as well. And they're going to lift production. They're going to produce more to meet that spending. When they do that, they need more labor, so it increases their demand for labor. You could probably say derived demand for labor there. That's a bit more impressive. Come on, Mr. Verlin. Finally, this helps us to achieve our goal of full employment. But what is the goal of full employment? Well, it's to have the lowest rate of unemployment without causing unnecessary inflationary pressures It's the NIRU of 4 to 4.5% or 4.25%, whatever you read. And now we have a much more impressive answer just by doing a little bit extra in each of those points. Okay, you probably do more here. You could probably talk a little bit about what the current state of the economy is in terms of unemployment and the goal of full employment, which has actually been achieved at 3.5%. We're below our target. You could get that in there. You might even choose a different policy. So if you choose the LMITO or the business tax incentive, the instant asset write-off, there's a bit more to write about there. So you can talk about discretionary income and so on. Okay. There it is in black, just in case you don't like the red. Now, as I've always done, we can think about the structure for this question and apply it to a range of other questions. So if you can learn this structure, you should be able to answer any discretionary policy question, because the only thing we can really do to you is change the type of discretionary spending, which I think would be a bit cheeky, but some resources say one spending policy, e.g. government spending, or specifically refer to a revenue policy, e.g. like a tax cut. That could be one little change, which, as I said, probably not. The only really major change we can make is just to change the goal. So instead of saying full employment, we'll tell us how it affects strong and sustainable growth or low inflation. And as I said in the marking guide, there's only a few little changes you need to make to do that. Full employment is a function of strong and sustainable growth, and low inflation just means you have to talk about prices, obviously. All right, hopefully that helped. I've lost my thing here. Bye for now. We're going to keep doing some videos like this. I hope you enjoyed it.